Welcome to the Software Process and Measurement Cast number 835. I'm Tom Cagley, your host. Today, the SPaMCAST 835 features our conversation with Elizabeth Bieniek. Elizabeth and I discuss her new book, Cake on Tuesday, 25 Lessons to Unlock Corporate Innovation, and explore the basics of innovation and leadership. The insights and innovations into intrapreneurship will help all types of enterprises compete and deliver value to their stakeholders. Elizabeth Bieniek is an author, speaker, and consultant focused on good people as the secret to exceptional execution. As a founder and Fortune 100 innovation and engineering leadership veteran, her expertise lies in challenging assumptions, embracing diverse perspectives, and leading through ambiguity to build empowered, resilient teams that last. Named to Toptal's 10 most influential female pioneers in technology, she's spoken on bridging the gap between human connections and innovation at many top conferences. Her leadership and innovation philosophy have been featured in Forbes, Bloomberg, International Business Times, and Women in Business. Links in the show notes to Elizabeth's LinkedIn profile and her website. Are you ready to wrestle with innovation? It's time for the conversation. Elizabeth Bieniek, welcome to the Software Process and Measurement Cast.
Thank you, Tom.
I'm looking forward to this conversation. I always like to talk to authors. I like to talk to leaders. The world is an interesting place. I did notice that you published a book yesterday on Tuesday, Cake on Tuesday. Why don't we just start with the pitch for the book?
Sure, absolutely. Cake on Tuesday, which came out yesterday, October 15th. It is focused on the lessons learned over several years building an entrepreneurial venture inside of a big tech organization. My subtitle is 25 Lessons to Unlock Corporate Innovation. And I really tried to take a very long and challenging journey where I was figuring things out as I went and distill it down into a short, snappy read that can hopefully help someone else, whether they're starting an entrepreneurial venture or entrepreneurial venture, make that journey a little bit quicker.
What is innovation?
The question you could probably ask 10 different people and get 10 different answers.
Usually 12 or 13 different answers, I think.
Or that. In my mind, innovation is not only thinking of something different, which is often more the creative side of innovation, but actually doing something different. And that's the application or execution side of it. So to be truly innovative, I think you need both of those, a new approach to something, and then a new outcome in your execution.
I see a lot of definitions of innovation that are one-offs and nuances. Do you see innovation as something more grandiose, or can it be something small?
I actually think innovation is very simple. I do think a lot of times we like to make it mystical and impressive sounding. But in reality, you can be innovative not just with this amazing cutting edge technology. You can be innovative in process. You can be innovative in the way that you treat your staff and handle your staff or treat your customers. You could be innovative in your thinking. You could be innovative in how you put a very tried and true approach, maybe to put a new twist on it so it has a new angle to it. I don't think innovation needs to be this grandiose thing that we refine to just be inside of corporate strategy offices. I think it's really accessible at every level. And all of us, honestly, should always be looking at our process approach, how we're doing something. Can we do this better? Can we do this different? And that's being innovative in an everyday environment.
Do you see innovation as a team or group attribute or an individual attribute?
A little bit of both, I would say. If you are leading an organization, if you are not taking an innovative approach yourself and trying to embrace innovation, I think it's going to be challenging for your team to innovate. So I do think there is a tops-down tone setting that goes with it. That being said, if you are trying to do something new or novel or different, it's hard to do that on your own. Pretty much everything that you're going to do is going to be a group activity. a lot in my book, I talk about how do you convince people to fund your innovation, work on your innovation, buy your innovation. And those are all group activities. You're never going to be successful as a single person act.
Does that make innovation more difficult?
Anytime you add more people, everything gets more difficult. Relationships are complex and challenging. And I think if you're trying to move an organization in a direction, you are dealing with all the personalities and interdependencies and interdynamics of that group. But it also makes it much more fruitful. You can do much more with many than you could ever accomplish as one. And I see that as not necessarily limited to innovation, just leadership in general. The point of leadership is the thought that you can accomplish more with many than you can alone.
So, as part of your career, you actually did intrapreneurial work, right? You created basically a piece of an organization, or worked as a piece of an organization that tried to be entrepreneurial. How did that work? And is that something that allows bigger, more staid organizations to actually tackle innovation?
Yeah, I think that's always a challenge of any organization of any size, but especially as you get larger, corporations have to deal within the parameters of their monthly budget cycle. They have commitments, they have quarterly goals, they have reports they need to get out, they have customers, they have stakeholders. So it can be very challenging for an organization that's going 100 miles an hour and they run the business to then carve out some part of their team and focus on 10 years from now. Are we still going to be relevant 5 years from now? Is this product still going to be compelling? What do we need to be changing? What do we need to be looking at to do that in parallel? So I like the idea of entrepreneurship. I'm not sure if I even knew what that idea was before I find myself in that interesting situation. I've always been fascinated with entrepreneurship. I come from a family of interesting and creative and eccentric entrepreneurs. And that was always the journey I thought it would take myself. But very rarely do plans go according to what we think they will go when we first set out. And so I found myself on this entrepreneurial journey, which was basically taking all that thought process and approach of entrepreneurship and saying, can I do that inside of a large organization? It can be the best of both worlds in that you can have the resources and funding and the cushion, if you will, of a large organization. But if you can move at the speed of startup, that can be amazing when you can make that work. The flip side of it, you can have the volatility and unknown of a startup and the red tape and bureaucracy of a big corporation. So you could at times get the worst of both worlds. So it's a very interesting journey. And again, the focus of wanting to write down is still some of the lessons learned was that I think we as a country, as a industry can make innovation inside of large corporations easier than we have so far. I think right now we do add that mystery to it and say it's something that can only come out of this special office over here in the corner that they do innovation, rather than embracing this concept of we are innovative as an organization. We want to encourage that at all levels. And how do we inject that back into our organization? I think we can take that mystery out of it. But I think also it's the power of looking at how can I take the ideas across my organization, carve out some that look like they could be really revolutionary to our industry, give them some protection from having to meet those quarterly metrics that we have, and see if this could be successful in the long run. And I think there's a way to do that. It's hard to formalize that because it's very different for every organization. But my focus in writing this book is trying to take those tenets that span industries and span different metrics, different customer bases, and we'll say what's really universal in this, and how can we do this collectively as individual organizations? How can we move forward and be more innovative in our big corporations?
Who owns dispelling that mystery?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do think that comes from tops down. I think that really your tone on innovation needs to be a leader first, because I think oftentimes organizations can run into this buzzword salad of we want to be innovative. Innovation is important to us. It's on our business card. It's on our core tenets. Yet, don't put that into practice on the everyday. It's kind of the similar concept if you've ever worked with someone who said, "Oh yeah, I have an open door policy," and then their door is literally never open. You can never get a hold of them. Can't get on their calendar. It's one thing to say something. It's another thing to do something. So rather than just say we're an innovative company and yes, we want people to bring their innovative ideas, you need to actually inject that into your operating process. Your process needs to follow the words that you're saying. So I think that part needs to be tops down driven.
So the role of leadership is important in innovation?
It's shocking, huh? Yes, I would say it is.
Good. In my research and prepping for this, I ran across a line that got used in some piece of marketing for the book Cake on Tuesday, 25 Lessons to Unlock Corporate Innovation. And it was sort of the mental picture, at least that it drew out in me, of a flat squirrel. And how does that relate to decision-making and innovation?
That hails back to a meme I saw. It doesn't all great ideas go back to a meme somewhere. I saw a meme several years ago that had a picture of a squirrel on it, fortunately not flat at that time. It said, "The road of life is paved with flat squirrels who couldn't make up their mind. Be decisive." And that has always stuck with me. The visual imagery of that has always stuck with me. But I think the Teddy Roosevelt quote is one that embodies that as well, where he said, "The best decision to make is the right one. The next best decision is the wrong one." It's really just action is always what trumps any waffling or indecision. And I think as a leader, that is 100% true in just about any scenario. But when you're talking about innovation specifically, you're usually dealing with a large amount of ambiguity. There are a lot of known unknowns and there are a lot of unknown unknowns. So you can never plan out, here's what we're going to encounter 3 months from now. You have no idea. So you need to have a plan and a direction that you're going, but you need to realize you're going to audible and course correct as new information becomes apparent. And the best way to lead that is being decisive, because moving forward, getting traction, you can always adjust your trajectory later. But if you stop, regaining that inertia in innovation is incredibly challenging. And ideas and opportunities will fly by at a very rapid rate in innovation, and you'll miss that window.
Yeah, just getting to market, I think, is critical. Otherwise, you get no feedback from real people. You get feedback from people who may well be self-serving. What's a more powerful link to innovation, joy or curiosity?
Oh, do I have to pick one?
If you had to, yeah.
If I had to pick one, honestly, I would pick joy. I think the obvious answer would probably be curiosity, and I think curiosity is very important. But joy is something that I see as very underappreciated, perhaps. We are all as humans looking for joy in this world, anything that brings us joy. And when you are exploring things new, joy will lead to curiosity. You encounter something new that fills you with joy, you want to share it. And that joy can be infectious, and other people will want to see it. It's like talking to somebody about the most boring subject in the world, but they are passionate about it. You get excited about their passion, not necessarily about their subject, but about their passion. And I think that joy is infectious. When you are having fun doing something, other people want in on it. They want to know why you are joyful. They want to know, especially why you're joyful at work, especially when you're working crazy hours. They want to know why are you having so much fun? And that naturally breeds curiosity. So I think curiosity is important, but you can have curiosity with joy. I don't think you can have joy without curiosity.
Having the conversation about joy in a corporate environment do you think that's a hard thing to do?
You just gave me a flashback to, 20 some odd years ago, early in my career. My very first corporate review I ever received, I was told by my manager that I shouldn't smile so much because it could look like I'm not working hard. I think maybe that set the tone for my entire career because I walked out of that review thinking, I just can't even wrap my head around that. Like, how is that feedback? Look more miserable. That's what we want you to do.
How long did you stay at that job?
Not very.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I think that would be not a message that would be useful. Yow. Did he say that at least with a straight face so that he wasn't being joyful by saying that?
With a straight face. And I turned that around and asked what the actionable step she wanted me to take from that was. I'm like, would you like me to look more upset? Is that the request you're making? I wasn't sure what action I'm supposed to take based on that. And it devolved a little bit from there of the, yeah, okay, well, people might think you're not taking it seriously enough. Since then, I've always focused on opportunities where it's okay if I laugh. In fact, it's encouraged.
Well, I have said this to many an interviewee. If we don't laugh during the interview, then it's probably not a good interview anyway, even if it's a hard one. If we boil things down, right? You've been innovative across your career. You've been an intrapreneur. You're an entrepreneur. Why write the book now?
Having completed a significant project that I worked on for several years, it was a natural ending point. And I was at that point in my career where hopefully as you get older, you get wiser. And I was not ready to just rush to the next thing without thinking about it. So I wanted to take a little bit of time doing a postmortem on the entire multi-year project rather than just the phase that we were in at the time. And in that process of really thinking back, reflecting what worked, what didn't, what could we have done better? How would I do this differently if I do this again? What's repeatable? That just led itself to, I should put this in, package this up somehow. And that led itself to writing a book. And then I had to think, why am I writing this book? It started out as just capturing my own thoughts, but then I started thinking about it from the perspective of, hey, there's some things in here. I never encountered this before and I didn't know what to do and I had to trial and error my way through it. There's not a lot out there on entrepreneurship. Maybe somebody else who is facing this same kind of journey, maybe if they see what I went through and what worked and what didn't, maybe it'll spark some ideas for them of how they could approach it. And maybe it'll help them get there a little bit faster, a little bit easier. And what's better than that? If you can help somebody else on their journey with the lessons that you learned on yours, that's great for both of you. That's amazing.
What did you learn while writing this book? I mean, is this your first book or have you written others?
This is my first book.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I very much enjoyed it. So hopefully this will not be my last book.
What did you learn about the writing process?
I heard a quote from Elizabeth Elliot many years ago that you never fully understand what you believe until you write it down. And I found that to be very true. There were certain things that I thought I knew or thought I believed. And then when I started writing them out in practice, you realize, wait, is that actually, you see it in black and white. Like, is that actually true? Do I believe that? Am I just taking that for granted or taking that because it's been told to me and I've seen that before, but is that actually true? And so it encouraged me to dig into some of my own preconceived notions about what I thought leadership was, what I thought about team building was, what I thought building and fostering a community and a culture was. And so it definitely helped clarify my viewpoints on a lot of things. And the final output of the book, it's broken down in 5 sections. And the first 3 are all about starting. I realized how incredibly hard it is to start and to get that momentum going and to keep that momentum going. And that way of how I view things, I think, is applied to my newest ventures of realizing there's so much legwork that goes into starting. There's so much of that proverbial iceberg that's below the surface that we don't often give credit to when we see other people succeed. This is the whole concept of like, wow, what amazing overnight success that was 15 years in the making. You realize how much is there's no light shining on it. It's not celebrated until you get to a certain point. So the way I've applied that to myself is just every time I'm embarking on something new, thinking about all that legwork that occurs early on, realize when I'm in that, like, this will be worth it later. This will never be seen. This will never be celebrated. But what I'm trying to get to later will never happen if I don't do this. So for me, that was a big takeaway in writing it all down.
I know this is probably a question you've been asked many times, but perhaps my listeners haven't heard the answer. Who did you write the book for? Who should buy this?
Anyone who is trying to shake things up in their existing environment. I do say corporate innovation in my title, but I've had some great feedback from early reviewers, pre-release, that applied it in very different industries that I wasn't expecting. Real estate, for instance, I had a real estate agent read this and say, like, this is great. I'm going to use this in my practice. I like the fact that some of the messages are universal for trying to be innovative, trying to think differently, and trying to move something from idea into action, regardless of what industry you're in. So if you are looking to shake up the status quo, this is a good fit for you.
Elizabeth, if you woke up tomorrow morning with the power to change any two things that impact innovation, what would those two things be and why?
Two, you're being generous. You're giving me two. Two things to change innovation. I think one would be the concept that we were talking about earlier of demystifying it. Make innovation more readily available to the masses. Allow people to realize you can be innovative regardless of what role you're in, where you are in an organization, what your job is, what you're trying to accomplish. You can be innovative. You don't even need a job to be innovative. You can be innovative in your household, in your hobby, in your volunteer activities. So I think one would be shaking that demystifying wand over everything and making it more accessible. I think the second thing would be elevating the importance of communication in team building and in leading an innovative venture. I think that is something that it's not new, it's not shiny, it's not sexy, it's not exciting. So oftentimes people gloss over that. But the nuances that come with effective communication, especially in something like innovation, I mentioned in my book that leading innovation is like leading through an ongoing crisis. Everything that you are encountering every day is what some people or organization might only encounter at their worst moment, when things are unknown and undefined and constantly changing. You're leading through an ongoing crisis. So effective communication that is going to not only resonate with the team that is building that, the people who are sponsoring that, the people who are ultimately going to buy or use that. Not only is that important, but you have to communicate in a way that people can clearly see the vision, even though the vision might change and evolve as you go on, and be excited about the vision. You're trying to impart that joy. We're speaking about that joy and excitement about where you're going. And you cannot do that without really resonant communication.
Elizabeth Bieniek, author of Cake on Tuesday, 25 Lessons to Unlock Corporate Innovation. How can people continue the conversation? How can they find out about your new book?
You can find me on my website, elizabethbieniek.com. I do have a newsletter there, which I will not spam you with. You can find me on LinkedIn or Instagram and X at Cake on Tuesday.
Super. And yeah, spam isn't necessarily bad. Harmel was a client of mine. At this point, I open up the platform for you to promote anything you like. You provided a lot of good information, also a good reason to go out and buy Cake on Tuesday, the book. Cake, regular cake, I think any day is the right day for. But the platform is yours to promote anything that you'd like. Just remember, this has been around for 18. It probably will be out there for a while. Selling your car on eBay, not probably a good idea.
Not the best. Where I'm at right now in my career is I'm leaving corporate after a couple decades, actually, in corporate America, branching out on my own. My goal in writing the book, like I said, is to help others on this journey. I've really pivoted that into further writing opportunities, speaking and consulting opportunities to help organizations and individuals move forward on their innovative journey, whether that be starting, finding momentum, gaining traction, or organizations that are struggling with their innovation efforts, simply not getting the results they want. I am creating an innovation rescue offer that helps come in and find out where those holes are in existing organizations, why you're not seeing the success that you were expecting, and what we can do to fix that.
Is innovation rescuable?
In a lot of cases, I think it can be.
Okay. Wow.
It's hard to tell until you get in there, but a lot of times, I believe you can. Usually it's not the idea that's bad. It's something that's breaking down in the execution of the idea. And if you can find that breakdown and you can resolve it, you can get things back on track.
That's fabulous. Maybe that's the second book.
Maybe.
Excellent. This has been absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend people go out and grab a copy of Cake on Tuesday, 25 Lessons to Unlock Corporate Innovation, or basically any innovation. Thank you again for spending time with the Software Process and Measurement Cast listeners.
Thank you, Tom.
Master Work Intake. Hey, Jeremy Willits and I published Mastering Work Intake earlier this year. We have backed that up with a great set of workshops. The next two workshops are taking a compressed approach to help kickstart your 2025. Seats are available on November 9th, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to noon Eastern Standard Time. The time change will have happened by then. December 6th, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to noon Eastern Standard Time. Link in the show notes to our Maven page, www.maven.com/Jeremy-Willits/Mastering Work Intake. Be there or be square. In Reread Saturday News, Chapter 9 of Massimo Pigliucci's How to Be a Stoic. Remember to buy a copy, read along. The author wrestles with the source of human virtue. The author is a professor of philosophy who holds PhDs, multiple, in philosophy, genetics, and evolutionary biology, and has published extensively on the nature versus nurture controversy. In this chapter, he uses science as a lens to explore Stoic ideas, focusing on role models as an area where nurture is effective. Links in the show notes to this week's and all previous week's entries in our reread of How to Be a Stoic. In the Software Process and Measurement Cast number 836, we'll consider the outcome of poor work entry using the metaphor of roadkill. Hum a few standards of dead skunk in the middle of the road while you're reading it, and let's determine how not to get hit by a truck. We'll also hear from Jeremy Berrio, who brings his Evolutionary Agilist column to the podcast. If process improvement is a never-ending journey, why do so many people ask, "Hey, Dad, is that a flattened squirrel in the street?" Or better yet, are we there yet?